rally a particular class around their chosen candidate on their single issue, knowing no one special interest group was capable of comprising the majority, but majority vote needed to elect. The left combined a number of special interests, each one contributing a percentage to it. Surely, slowly but surely, using this technique, the left has organized and elected their own. The leftist leadership of these separate circles of interest networks with each other, selects one of their own and elects them. They intentionally keep their special interest membership blissfully ignorant of the overall humanist philosophy of their candidates. And that's a whole bunch of gobbledygook to show you what I'm about to show you. The radical left hardcore is the glue that holds these separate circles of interest together. Rarely if ever do each group's general memberships come in contact with each other, mainly because of highly diversified differences they may have regarding key issues. Let me explain. These are all separate influence groups that the left actually has hooks into. Lumberjacks and timber workers through the unions, the Teamsters and the other groups, radical environmentalists, Audubon Society, all of the Greenies, the Center for Biodiversity, Sierra Club, all of these knuckleheads are in here. Law enforcement unions, believe it or not. Trial lawyers, they listen to the Democrats. Radical gay rights activists, dock workers union. Let me ask you a question. Let's take these two guys, these two universes. We take a giant warehouse, we open the doors, and we put both of those groups inside and close the doors real fast.
They kill each other.
Let's take the cops and the trial lawyers and put them in the neighboring warehouse and close the doors real fast.
They kill each other.
Let's take the stevedore union and put them in with this group in another warehouse, close the doors real fast and weld them shut. When you go back in there and open the doors, what do you think you're going to find?
Dead bodies.
Okay, I've heard blood, bones, bone chips, death and destruction, mayhem, not a living thing left. They will kill each other. They're at total opposite ends, completely with each other. They are mutually exclusive. It's matter and antimatter. They come together, you should have the creation of a black hole. That's what these groups are. Now, how come, here's a question, how come these two groups support the same candidate for office? How come these two groups support the same candidate that those two groups support? And how come these two groups support the same candidates for office that all four of these other groups support? The left has worked it that way. They have worked it that way with a purpose. Because this is the way that the circles are actually connected. They're connected, overlapping in a very small area. And that very small area are the leftist staff people that have been hired to organize these groups and to inflame them. Do you think that the organizer for the dock workers says, this guy we're going to supports radical gay rights? No way, he doesn't talk about that. He says, this guy supports your union wages and your job. Do you think that this guy, when he talks to his group, says, this candidate supports the union guys that if they saw you in a back alley would turn you into a grease mark? The lumberjacks, you know, do they say that the guy we're going to vote for supports getting you guys out of the woods, stopping your industry, making you unemployed? To the radical environmentalists, are they going to tell them that the guy we're supporting is the guy who supports the union and vice versa with over here? No. Each of those organizers only tell their group what they want to hear, and then they force them to give them money through political action committees to elect the same candidates. And that's how the left has been able to take these different special interest groups, combine them through lies, deceit, and a lot of hard work into a political movement that we have not been able to fight yet, until now. Now, this leadership overlap, they don't even have to get together. They read the same stuff. They are mentored by the same people. They are coordinated almost telepathically. It's like the Borg in Star Wars, you know. Resistance is futile. You know, and they operate because they are what they are. Well, take a look at this. Okay, the information they receive from the candidates will only speak to their own self-interest. By pulling these circles together, these circles of special interest on election day, sufficient votes are garnered to elect. From the organization of these special interest groups, the leftist elite develop a few new cadre members with leadership potential, properly indoctrinating their spin on forming new circles of interest. That's why they keep picking new issues. The radical left has been doing the above for 70 plus years.
So, and did they pick a candidate that can fulfill something for each one of these industries, or is it work away all around?
Yeah, they have developed these issues. They have developed the radical union, the environmental community. So what they do is they pick a candidate who has gone through the leadership of organizing all of these. They select him as the candidate, and then they get each of those groups to support him. That's what they do. They bring them from within. They've never had a real job. They train them, and then they put them in place, and then they make all these other groups elect. The conservative opposition, usually active within the Republican Party, has been a loose collection of traditionalists, irritated by the incremental socialist management coming together and occasionally winning. Occasionally. Here are our circles. Pro-family, pro-gun, traditional marriage, anti-tax, patriotic veterans, small business, tea parties, homeschoolers, pro-life. Our circles are huge. There's probably 10 times that many circles of influence out there on the conservative side. When will we learn to interlock all of these and move them as one movement? Because you know what the reality is? When you find a candidate that is supported vehemently, very strongly on one or more of these issues, typically they're pretty darn good on all of them. It's hard to be supported deep down inside on any of these issues and not be supportive of all the others. So what we need to do, what we are starting to do, is coordinate with the leadership of all of these organizations. You'll notice that some of the pro-family groups are putting on lobby days and inviting Tea Party people to come to the Capitol. We're coordinating. We're trying to get the anti-tax people in. We're developing patriotic veterans groups that can be a part of the process. The traditional marriage people is, you know, the whole Mormon church is a part of that, and small businesses, that's probably the easiest group of all. They're the ones who are facing the disaster that we're feeling right now more than anybody else. All of these groups we're starting to try to put together in order to win the elections. Whenever conservative Republicans are elected, there's no plan of positive confrontation, any dedicated purpose to resolve, to structure, to unstructure the incumbency bureaucracy. In other words, when we elect them, when we finally do that and we get them there, we have to send them there with a plan. And the plan is to take the castle apart.
Yes.
Repeal. And our biggest stumbling block, of course, are moderate radical Republicans. They're the ones that always, every time we get close, they're the ones who kill us and put us back. And we need to stop that when we're in the process of doing it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Meg Whitman.
Okay. We'll talk about that later.
That's a whole nother.
Okay, networking together. And you know what? Every one of those organizations is starting to have a political influence with political action committees. That's an important thing because, you know, you can only give $3,600 to $3,900 to an assemblyman or a senator. But if you have 10 groups that can all give that amount. All of a sudden they can give $39,000, and that covers for a couple of mayor's in their district, and that can make the difference between winning and losing an election. And of course you're going to hear campaign reform. Every time we get better at it, every time we figure out how to do it, they're going to try to change the process of us. You know, all of this should tell us that we need to do a better job. We need to do it differently. And praise God for you guys, because you're doing it differently, and everybody's saying it can't be done the way you guys are doing it. All right. Stop trying to educate everybody about every subject to enlighten them. It's like using a shotgun to spray and pray that enough will see the light to win the political process. It doesn't work that way. We don't have to do it that way. We shouldn't do it that way. Target specific groups. Our strength is in American diversification and individuality. You see, the leftists don't believe in that. They don't think we are individuals. That's the whole socialist concept. We are all one. We are one in the socialist government. I read that song, I'm sorry. Okay, so we just have to get better at it. We're working on that. We're definitely working on that on a global scale, particularly here in California. Let me get down to the last couple of things here. You won't miss any of this stuff. Dogs, snakes, jackasses, and leftists. Okay. I thought he was a good guy. He promised he wouldn't vote for the new taxes, but he didn't. It didn't take him long to forget the campaign promise, that dirty, rotten turncoat. How many times have you seen that? They go in there and all of a sudden they vote for taxes. You know, talks like a Republican, votes like a Democrat. Heard that one before? Why would he do that? I thought he was really one of us. The answer is he might have been. This chapter boils down to the whole aphrodisiac of power, of being involved. You know, when you become elected, you go to the Capitol and you never tell a joke that isn't funny anymore. Everybody all of a sudden calls you Senator or Assemblyman, the Honorable, Your Highness, you know, yes sir, no sir, and you know, he says black is white, and everybody goes, ah, that's good, you know, and but you know what? That's the nature of the beast. The only way we can change the nature of the beast is if we remind them constantly where they come from. They come from us. We got to keep their feet grounded to the fire, to the fire that we are stoking under them. That's the only way we're going to prevent it. Don't get upset when a politician acts like a politician. Be upset when one of our folks who we send out there starts to fall out of line, and then you bring them back into line, and we cannot be afraid to do that. There are all kinds of funny stories about what Democrats do and how this happens and the power that comes over them and how they, you know, the lobbyists, you know, there's 10 lobbyists for every elected person in the legislature in Washington, D.C. You know what they respond to? It's pain, political pain, potential for losing their jobs, getting the people who elected them mad at them. Sometimes they go up there and say, oh, well, you know, they helped elect me, but they're not the ones that are keeping me here anymore. We can fix that. You know, we run a primary candidate against them, and all of a sudden, start to salute. But then again, by that time, you know what they really are. It's just a price, so you get rid of them and you put somebody else in. Oversized ego. These men and women view themselves as leaders, as the individual who can turn it all around. They can do it all on their own. Yeah.
Narcissists.
Okay. You know, everybody who has the book, all of this in greater detail will be there. And if you sit down and read the book, you're going to find that you can't put it down. And you're going to go, aha, that's how that works. Okay, now I know what he was talking about. He had me confused. During Senator Richardson's 22 years in state office,